If you've clicked this video, then you either live in Vail, are considering moving to Vail, or maybe you live here and you just have a little bit of interest as to how our neck of the woods is doing. Now, I live in Vail, I love our community here, and I can tell you it is doing very well. So I wanna say thank you if you're watching this. There's some interesting categories and some information that I'm gonna put out in this video. It's gonna be broken down into 3 parts: what we've seen in the past since 1992, current day numbers, and then a light overview of what we could possibly expect in the future. So getting right into it, I went as far back as 1992. That's about 32 years ago. And that's unfortunately the limit in which I can see on the program that I use, but it's quite interesting to see where we've been and where we are, and both are record-breaking numbers. In 1992, and this is the first year that I can see, the median sales price for specifically single-family homes, so this does not include mobile homes, manufactured homes, townhomes, or land, strictly single-family homes. Your median sales price 32 years ago was $84,000. Now, if we fast forward a decade to 2002, your median sales price was $183,000. Before we jump another decade, I wanted to pause at 2006 because that was the year before the next few years that led to the great housing crash that many people faced. I personally was too young to experience it. However, I know a lot of that sentiment and those feelings still carry on to this day. At the peak, right before the big crash in 2006, the median home price in Vail, 85641, was $310,000. Now that's a pretty significant jump over 4 years from 183 to 310. But if we fast forward, once we get through the crash and almost at the lowest point in 2012, the median price point had gone from 310 to 188,000 in only 6 years. Now, if you were a homeowner then, you saw your equity almost get completely wiped out. And amongst other things such as job losses and layoffs, it was terrible. And for the equity in people's homes to just vanish, as well as a lot of people had a lot of outstanding debt on their house, HELOCs, second mortgages and whatnot, it made for a really rough time. Going from 2012 to 2022, another decade had passed. And in 2022, we saw at the time, which was the highest number Vail had ever seen, the median price point for homes had reached $404,000. Bringing us to current day 2024, and the current median home price in Vail is $410,000. Staying on the same page of highest and record-breaking numbers, I want to give you guys the most expensive home and the least expensive home that has been sold in Vail from year to date. Coming in at first place was a home that sold just a few months ago at $1.2 million. Now this home is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, and I believe just under 4,300 square feet. The unique piece about that home was that it had a guest house, and I don't remember the separated square footage, but I know the combined square footage was, I believe, 4,291. A beautiful home. The least expensive home was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, just over 1,000 square feet, and this home sold for $260,000. Now stepping into current day, now that we're in May, the April numbers have settled, and the average home price for a single family home here in Vail was $468,000. This is up 11% from the same time last year to today. So we've seen some pretty good appreciation when it comes to averages. The median home price was $417,000. This is up 4.3% from the same time last year to today. This next one is very important. Whether you're a seller or a buyer, your days on market is going to tell you or give you somewhat of a summary as to how the market's performing. And your average days on market for Vail for last month in April was 87 days, a little under 3 months on average for a home to sell. This is going to play into some numbers later, so stay tuned because it's all going to come together in the end. Your median days on market was 45, a little over a month and a half, median to sell a home. I like this next one because this gives me what I think is a very true idea of where the market is. It is a seller's market, is it a buyer's market, or is it balanced? And this is percent of list price received. List price received is the difference between what a homeowner lists their home for on the market versus what it sells for after it closes. Now this number is negative 1.8%, so let's just round that to -2. On average, if you're selling a home, you can expect to lose about 2% from what you listed to what you sold for. So if you have a $400,000 house, this is about $8,000 that you would lose from the sale of your home. Now, being 2% or less really doesn't move the needle a whole much. Obviously, $8,000 is not a small piece of change, but in the grand scheme of things, And all things considered, when we look at the mortgage rates and how saturated Vail is, it really is a bit of a buyer's market. Although you wouldn't really think that when we look at some of the activity that we see later on in these numbers. Next up is price per square foot. The average for Vail was $218. This is up 10% year over year, and the median price per square foot was $211. Lastly is the months of inventory, and months of inventory is how we measure what type of market it is. So currently Vail is at 4.98 months of inventory, which means if sellers stopped putting their homes on the market today, it would take us 4.98 months, let's call it 5 months, for us to reach zero inventory, no homes available on the market. Now there's a few loose definitions out there of what the threshold is for buyer market, seller market, and balanced. Right now at 5 months, I would call it a balanced market. If we push over 6 or 7 months of inventory, then it becomes a buyer's market, whereas anything under 4 and really into the 3 and 2 months of inventory becomes a seller's market. This next category is interesting, but it's also the same month after month. It's going to take a big swing to change these numbers. This is the most competitive price bracket in Vail. I'm going to read you the top 3. The most competitive price bracket is $300,000 to $400,000 homes, and they made up 21 of the sales last month. The $400,000 to $500,000 homes, priced homes, made up 13 of the sales, and coming in at third place with 8 total sales last month were homes from $500,000 to $600,000. This last piece is my favorite because it gives me an overview of how Vail ranks amongst the other zip codes in town. I like to look at the zip codes and break them down as such. There are 31 total zip codes in this ranking, and obviously Tucson is known for breaking down its regional areas by zip codes. We all know what the east side zip codes are, downtown, northwest, Oro Valley, Marana, so on and so forth. So getting into it, the most activity seen last month for home sales out of all the Tucson zip codes was 85641. Vail took first place with 52 homes sold last month. Second place was 85710 at 47 sales. Third is 85747 at 46 sales. And coming in fourth, 85750 with 42 sales. Now this is interesting because it appears that if you live up and down Houghton, the northeast, down the east side, all the way to the southeast, it's a pretty popular, I'll call it region or part of town if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Next is the median price point and where Vail ranks amongst Tucson in affordability. Of the 31 zip codes, if you are number 1, you are the most expensive. And if you're the 31st zip code, you are the least expensive or the most affordable zip code. At a median price of $417,000 here in Vail, we came in 13th place. So I'd call it right in the middle. Our affordability when compared to the rest of Tucson is still pretty good. We're not too high and we're not too low. Obviously, we'd probably prefer to be a little lower. That way we could get more families into homes, but we can't control that. Lastly is how quickly homes sold in those zip codes. Vail, with a median day on market of 45, came in at 28th place. And that's because we have quite a bit of inventory here, and it takes about 45 days to sell a home, which put us in 28th place. So almost dead last. Homes are moving slower. However, more homes are moving than we've seen in a long time. When I look at this information, and if someone asks me, Mason, where do you see Vail going when it comes to the housing market? The first thing I would say is I don't have a crystal ball. I am not going to stand here and tell you what's going to happen a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now. And no agent truly knows. What I can tell you is based off current performance and past performance, as well as all the development, whether it's welcomed or not here in the Southeast. Vail is doing very well, and really, again, I'll sum it up as the entire Southeast region of Tucson. We have some major stores, some major industrial and commercial, and a lot of housing being built here. Again, you're going to get some pushback on that from some of the locals. Some families are accepting of it. And I think we can all agree that Vail is feeling a little bit pinched when it comes to our roadways, our shopping centers, the schools, the traffic, and we can't ignore the train tracks that run right through Colossal Cave. I am bullish on Vail. I think it's going to do well. There are other parts of the city and Pima County that are doing exceptionally well, but what we have here in Vail is just a lot of inventory. We're actually almost double what most of Tucson has to offer. But what's interesting is even though we have so many homes for sale, we actually have the most amount of sales happening. So it's not a stagnant market. We are moving, and with a little bit of relief hopefully coming in the August-September timeframe, and that's from the Fed, hopefully getting some lower rates for housing, we should see what has historically been a slow winter for Tucson be maybe a little bit busier during the winter months. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, that would help me out a lot. I love making these videos. I love diving deep into our community and seeing how it's performing, and I'm gonna continue to put these videos out. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.